Thank you all so much for coming. First and foremost, I want to thank Dan Martin, John Carson, and Franco Shanomeo. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. From the Miller Gallery, there's a huge team that makes this whole show possible, and they do the work of 100 people. It's really incredible. So I'd like to thank Claire, Kara, Sarah, Connie, Vita, Michael, Joe, Daniel, Chloe, Jamie, Madeline, Eugene, Matthew, Maggie, Leah, and Lauren. I was going to try to say all those last names, but I'm afraid I'll butcher them. So thank you all to you guys for doing the work. In the School of Art in the Digital Art Studio, we have to thank Flan Flaherty, Matt Forrest, and Max Hawkins, and also Nathan Trevino, because they helped quite a bit. On the PCA side, of course, everyone over there who's organizing the entire biennial is doing a ton of work. We'd particularly like to thank Gretchen Niedert and Nina Sarnelli, who created the video. If you guys saw the little preview video of the show, they did a really nice job with that. So thanks to them. Yeah. And then last but not least, I have to thank Margaret Cox and Tesser Friedman. Tesser Freeman? Well, Tesser somewhere. Anyway, Tesser and Margaret really run this entire gallery. It was such a pleasure to work with them. We put together a very large show in a very short amount of time, and they were constantly smiling and just, I'd ask for a really crazy amount of work to be done, and they'd say, yeah, okay, we can do that. So thank you. Really big round of applause for them. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this show, shall we? Yeah? Okay. So this show is a great slice of what's happening in the Pittsburgh art world currently. I chose a group of artists who either live in Pittsburgh now or recently lived here. One person who has never lived in Pittsburgh but is connected. And it's just a slice of what's happening. So each of the artists created new work or a new version of the work that they have had in the past. Everybody sort of spans different disciplines, which is very exciting and I think is very important to talk about in the current art world, the ability to move between not only different media within the visual arts, but outside of the visual arts. So tonight I'm just going to do sort of an informal conversation with the artists. Quite a few of them are here. We'll walk around the space a little bit, and at any point, if you want to ask a question, I think feel free. We do only have maybe 30 minutes, so we'll speed talk through it. And I just ask you not to heckle the artists, because they worked really hard, okay? Can you agree to that? Good. So in the middle of this room, we are surrounded first by Edith Abeyta's work, which is right here. On the back wall there, we have Ulric Joseph's paintings. To my right, some of your left, this is a small room in here with Jess Langley's video installation. And then on my left is the listening room, which is a piece that includes the work of Gavin Benjamin and also David Bernabo. So this was a special project just for the show. When we go downstairs, we're going to hear from Celeste Neuhaus, from Alexis Gideon. We'll also hear from David Bernabo, who has some more work down there. And then on the first floor, we have the Janks archive folks who are here in town, which is great. They used to live in Pittsburgh, and they have all recently moved to the New York area, right? Yeah, good. So we get a special treat with them tonight. So let's start. All right, Ulric, you're here. Let's start with Edith.
I'm Edith. I collaborated with Michael Lewis Miller. We've worked together in a lot of different capacities for a long time. He is an artist, primarily kind of working in performance and sculpture, and I typically do participatory-based installations. So this work is very different in some ways, that it's kind of static and it has the potential for participation, but it's not activated during the exhibition. And Michael also was originally trained as a geologist. So the geological processes are really powerful and significant and very present and very visible here in Pittsburgh. So we thought we would maybe try to, in the most humblest way, kind of tackle those sorts of processes using garments. So that this is the result of us collaborating, via text, video chats, phone calls, photos back and forth, that kind of thing, designs, sketches going back and forth, and calling and saying, okay, this is what this looks like. So this is kind of the result. He was not here for the actual fabrication of the work. So some of the pieces, like this particular piece, he fabricated in LA, and then, so there is a version of this in Los Angeles too. But that's kind of the general gist of our process of what happened. The clothes over there on the rack are basically garments that are sort of reference garments, or that things that I was thinking about, and visually, color, form, shape, that I thought kind of made me think about certain natural phenomenon. So there's a dress that very much reminds me of coal, or the color of ice, or things like that.
And your collaborator, Michael, had a past life as a geologist, is that right?
Right,
Okay.
yeah. So his first career was as a geologist, a professional geologist. He worked for Shell Oil Company, and this was kind of in the 70s when doing like early investigations into like the whole kind of gas drilling, fracking sort of thing. So he has this historical foot in these processes that are now greatly impacting our area. So that was some of the things we thought about too.
Great. All right, thanks, Edith.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.
Ulric. I'm from Trinidad, and I teach at Micah. So, excuse me if I'm out of breath. I just came off of 70. Just trying to make it here on time. The glitter dust is actually from the carnival that we have, and I also use it as a way to talk about, in this case, greed, referring to this archbishop from Germany who actually stole a lot of the church's money. This piece has to do with just being just a black male walking through the streets. When you're in a group, you're often considered an angry mob. So this was kind of like talking about that. This is referencing kind of like how I feel I'm perceived when I walk the street, I'm only after bling. So the glitter dust, which originally is kind of like cultural for me, I use it in the work in different ways for like social commentary. So it's pretty much the gist of how I work.
The title of this piece is The Predator, which is pretty...
Yeah, so I don't know, I was just trying to incite a reaction out of people, kind of like the reaction sometimes people get when they see me coming. So, and yeah, for the most part, the glitter dust and the social commentary kind of ties into my culture of calypso and carnival. So I'm trying to be like as real as possible.
So I love Ulric's practice because he shifts between printmaking and painting, and he also has a digital practice. He's a teacher, which is its own practice itself, right? And he created an entirely new body of work for this show in a very short amount of time. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a really long summer.
All right, so you guys can see we're in the listening room. Again, this was a special project just for the show. Dave Bernabo is another Pittsburgh native, and we recently realized both of us, Pittsburgh natives, our families have a connection. Our parents used to hang out, so it's great. It's a great little connection. But Dave is another person who moves between many different methods of making. music is really your background, right? Now Dave organizes Lightlab, which is really a series about innovative dance in Pittsburgh, which is really exciting. And he also does some visual artwork as well, and just gets to play around quite a bit. So I asked David to create the sound element in this room. So there are 2 record players here, and he created 4 different lathe cut records that house a collection of sounds, and I'll let him talk about the sound element a little bit more. But around you, Gavin Benjamin created the imagery in the room. So we had a couple of meetings where the 2 of them could kind of talk about what kind of atmosphere they would want to create. They each have their own way of working. It's very different. This was not like a full-on collaboration where they were in each other's studios, but it was just really about having conversations throughout the process so that they could sort of stay in touch and make sure that this felt like a completed, room conceptually. So do you want to talk about the sound a little?
Yeah, sure. Well, when we met discussing the pieces with Gavin, there's a lot of nature imagery, but it's also artificial. So basically translating that to the sound, I went with more environmental field recordings. Also, the idea was to create an intimate space. So one way to do that would be through narratives and the use of the human voice. So kind of what you're going to hear on the records would be a mix of purposely composed music, improvised music. Lenny Young, who's a terrific oboe player, has this extended technique piece that kind of emulates dialogue. You're also getting extracts from documentary. Julie Sokolow has an extract from her As We Seeks Love documentary that's coming out next year, and it kind of deals with male-female dynamics in relationships, sexism, expectation, things like that. So kind of a wide variety of topics, but hopefully trying to create this landscape that's very intimate, that's a little expansive.
Thanks. Wonderful. All right, can you guys hear me? Yeah, ish. Can you see me? All right, so I'm here with Jess Langley. Jess Langley is originally from Ohio, right? Yeah. Okay. Jess Langley's originally from Ohio, lived in Pittsburgh with her husband, Ben Kinsley, for a while, recently left. And she is also collaborating with Ben Kinsley and Jersten Crosby on the Janks archive on the first floor. So you guys will see that a little later. Jess, her video installation here, again, it's a very delicate item, so please take time with it. We just aren't going to attack it as a crowd. So go ahead and give us a synopsis.
Yeah, so the imagery is these wreaths with screensavers in the middle. So the wreaths are stop motion animation. They're just these Joanne Fabrics craft store wreaths, like super fake. I wanted to kind of reanimate them to create some tension between some of that real, fake, live, dead thing that happens when you reanimate something. Mm-hmm. And the image in the center of each wreath is a screensaver depicting a sublime sky. And they're projected onto glass puddles, which is the first time I've ever used glass before, which is an amazing material. It's somebody told me that it's never quite a solid, so it's always kind of in this like state of flux. And primarily I work with like 2D images, doing mostly paintings, prints, drawings, but I wanted to take some of that image, the imagery that I use in my work, which is like taking from landscape images of the sublime, and bringing it into another kind of piece, like video.
Great, thank you. Well, I encourage you to again to go take a look at that as a small group.